I myself just recently have seen a couple episodes of The Problem with Jon Stewart. I hadn't been able to watch it before, and it's glorious. The episode on gender is great, and this latest one about gun violence is another wonderful one. Here in the episode of The Problem with Jon Stewart, focused on gun violence, the host sat down with Nathan Dahm, a senator from Oklahoma, to ask him about his inconsistent policy decisions on issues of gun control, voting rights, the border, and Drag Show Story Hour as part of the greater program about gun violence and the problem with guns in the United States. Dahm is staunchly pro-gun and opposes virtually any restrictions to gun ownership, including simple registration, permitting, or required training. Jon pointed out that his overall stance on guns and that of his pro-gun base is that, quote, more guns makes us more safe, unquote. Jon then asks, quote, so when exactly does this curve hit that takes it down? Pointing to the statistics that show as gun ownership has increased in this country, so have reports of gun-related deaths and violence. He also includes the voice of law enforcement leaders in that conversation and their repeated statements that unregulated gun ownership and lax permit and carry laws make them and the community far less safe. Dahm tries to claim that the Constitution protects the right and that any regulation is an infringement of that right. He then dodges and avoids as best he can when Stewart asks him about voting rights and the fact that even to vote in this country, you have to register, the word that Dahm tries really hard for a good long time to avoid saying, because he knows the point that Jon is making, that voting is the most important right in America, in the Constitution, because it maintains the Constitution, it maintains our democracy. And to vote in this country, you have to register. And everybody seems to agree on that. Like, you registered voter, so we can count you, and we, all of the things with voting, because it's important. And yet he is so against registration for gun ownership that he would not say the word as Jon was trying to get him to say it. Stewart has an expert and statistically backed rebuttal to pretty much every claim Dahm makes, but the best part comes when Stewart turns the conversation to talk about the safety of children. He mentions Dahm's vocal support of bans on drag story hours. Dahm plays right into Stewart's hands, saying that his stance there is about the government's responsibility to protect children. Stewart readies to bring down the hammer, asking Dahm, what's the leading cause of death amongst children in this country? Continuing, I'm going to give you a hint. It's not drag shows reading to children. Dahm's weak response is only to say, I'm presuming you're going to say firearms, to which Stewart claps back, no, I'm not going to say it like it's an opinion. That's what it is. It's firearms, more than cancer, more than car accidents. While hammering in the final nail, Stewart says, what you're telling me is you don't mind infringing on free speech to protect children from this amorphous thing that you think of. But when it comes to children that have died, you don't give a flying F. On the show, he says the real word, to stop that, because that shall not be infringed. That is hypocrisy at its highest order. So, yeah, Jon Stewart laid a serious smackdown on this senator from Oklahoma, and again, just had wonderful points in rebuttal, statistically backed points to everything that Dahm tried to say. And it's great, if for no other reason, to listen and hear the audience laughing as Stewart just nails the guy. It's a great episode. It's pretty fun. And again, like I said, he brings forth a lot of important points, and the fact that so many Republicans are focusing on things like drag story hours. The Proud Boys are spending so much energy going there armed to boycott these things and to protest outside and to scare people away from them and scare people away from doing them. And yet it's the guns that are the things that are making children in our country unsafe by far. And, the fact that it's more than car accidents even, or more than cancer or some of those other diseases is really a sobering statistic. And it was just kind of baffling to watch the senator dodge and avoid and try his darndest not to absorb or agree with any of the points Jon was making. So, hell of a show. Hell of a show.